Let me take you back to one of the most electrifying moments in football history. Picture this, August 6, 2003. The Estadio José Alvalade in Lisbon, Portugal. A brand new stadium gleaming under the lights, celebrating its grand inauguration. Manchester United, the giants of English football, have traveled to Portugal for what they think is a routine friendly match. Little do they know, they are about to witness a performance that will change the course of football history forever. But before we dive into that legendary night, we need to understand the remarkable journey of a skinny kid from a tiny island who dared to dream bigger than anyone thought possible. The Madeira Miracle. Our story begins on the beautiful Portuguese island of Madeira, specifically in the humble neighborhood of Santo Antonio in Funchal. Born on February 5, 1985, Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro entered this world in the most modest of circumstances. His father, José Dinis Aveiro, worked as a kit man and gardener, while his mother, Maria Dolores, was a cook. They lived in a small tin-roofed house that barely had enough room for the family. But what young Cristiano lacked in material wealth, he made up for with an insatiable hunger for football. From the moment he could walk, the ball was glued to his feet. His neighbors remember seeing this skinny kid with tears streaming down his face, dribbling past imaginary defenders in the streets, playing until darkness made it impossible to see the ball. This wasn't just passion, this was obsession. This was destiny calling. Young Ronaldo started at amateur club Andorinha, where his father worked, before moving to Nacional at age 10. But even then, everyone knew this island couldn't contain his talent. At just 12 years old, Cristiano faced the most difficult decision of his young life. Sporting Lisbon, one of Portugal's biggest clubs, wanted him to join their legendary academy. It meant leaving everything he knew, leaving his family, leaving his island home, and moving to the capital city alone. Can you imagine? 12 years old, leaving your mother's cooking, your father's support, your siblings, everything familiar, to chase a dream that seemed impossible? But Cristiano didn't hesitate. He knew what he wanted, and nothing would stand in his way. The sporting years, forging a diamond. Life at Sporting's academy wasn't easy for the young Madeira. The Lisbon kids mocked his thick island accent. They called him names, made fun of the way he spoke. But Ronaldo, he let his feet do the talking. Every insult, every jeer, every doubt became fuel for the fire burning inside him. By age 16, Ronaldo achieved something extraordinary. He became the first player in Sporting's history to play for the under-16s, under-17s, under-18s, B team, and the first team all in a single season. Think about that for a moment. That's not just talent. That's an unstoppable force of nature. His official first-team debut came on October 7, 2002, against Moreirense in the Primeira Liga. He was just 17 years old. Manager Laszlo Belloni saw something special in this teenager. The way he moved with the ball, the audacity of his tricks, the fearlessness in taking on defenders, it was mesmerizing. He wasn't just playing football, he was creating art with his feet. Throughout the 2002 to 2003 season, Ronaldo began to establish himself in Sporting's first team. He scored his first senior goal against Moreirense in October 2002, and suddenly, this kid wasn't just a prospect anymore, he was becoming a player that managers had to account for. His stopovers, his pace, his ability to beat defenders with such ease, it was becoming impossible to ignore. But Europe's biggest clubs were watching. Scouts from across the continent had this young Portuguese wizard on their radar. Arsenal were interested. Liverpool had their eyes on him. But fate, my friends, had other plans. The night everything changed. Now, let me set the scene for you properly, because this is where our story reaches its crescendo. It's August 6, 2003. Sporting Lisbon has just built a magnificent new stadium, the Estadio José Alvalade, and they want to inaugurate it in style. Who better to invite than Manchester United, managed by the legendary Sir Alex Ferguson? This was supposed to be a celebration, a friendly summer match to break in the new ground. United were on a pre-season tour, preparing for the upcoming campaign. Manchester United arrived with a squad full of superstars. Roy Keane, the Warrior captain. Rio Ferdinand, who'd just broken the British transfer record. Ruud van Nistelrooy, one of the deadliest strikers in world football. Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, these were household names. These were champions who had conquered England and Europe. The United players were probably thinking this would be a nice warm-up game, a chance to stretch their legs, get some match fitness. Oh, how wrong they were. The performance of a lifetime. From the moment the whistle blew, something magical happened. Number 28 for Sporting Lisbon, a skinny 18-year-old kid, started doing things that made grown men in the Manchester United defense look like traffic cones. Cristiano Ronaldo was absolutely sensational. He was unplayable. Every time he got the ball, he ran at the United defense like a man possessed. Step over after step over, feint after feint, twist after turn. John O'Shea, who would later become his teammate, must have gotten dizzy just trying to follow him. Picture this. Ronaldo receives the ball on the right wing. He looks up, and here comes O'Shea, a solid, experienced defender. Ronaldo drops his shoulder, does a step over with his right foot, then another with his left, then boom. He's past him like O'Shea wasn't even there. The crowd erupts. The United bench sits up in their seats. And he didn't do it once. He didn't do it twice. He did it again and again and again. He was toying with them. This kid, this teenager, was making one of the best teams in the world look ordinary. The match itself ended 3-1 to Sporting. Lourenço Faria, Goncalves, and Rui Bento scored the goals for the Portuguese side. But honestly, nobody remembers those goals. Everyone remembers him. Everyone remembers the number 28 who lit up that stadium like a supernova. On the United bench, something unprecedented was happening. The players were turning to each other, eyes wide with amazement. Roy Keane, the hard man who rarely praised anyone, leaned over to Quinton Fortune and said they needed to sign this kid. Rio Ferdinand was mesmerized. Even the legendary Ryan Giggs, who had been tormenting defenders for over a decade, was impressed. But the most important person watching, Sir Alex Ferguson, the greatest manager in football history, sat there, arms crossed, watching this teenager systematically dismantle his defense. And you could see it in his eyes, that familiar glint that appeared whenever Fergie spotted something special. He'd seen it with Giggs, with Scholes, with Beckham. And now he was seeing it again. The plane journey that changed everything. Now, here's where it gets really exciting. After the match, the Manchester United players boarded their plane back to England. Usually, after a friendly, players might chat about the game briefly, then move on. Not this time. The entire flight back, the United squad couldn't stop talking about Ronaldo. Can you believe it? Champions, world-class players, all buzzing about this Portuguese teenager they just played against. Rio Ferdinand reportedly told Ferguson, "Boss, we've got to sign him." Giggs agreed. Keane was insistent. One by one, these legends of the game were telling their manager the same thing. Get this kid to Old Trafford, whatever it takes. So Alex Ferguson didn't need much convincing. He'd already made up his mind during the match. He knew talent when he saw it. And what he'd witnessed wasn't just talent. It was something transcendent. This boy had that X factor, that indefinable quality that separates good players from legends. The transfer saga. Ferguson moved fast. Within days of that match, Manchester United opened negotiations with Sporting Lisbon. This wasn't going to be easy, though. Sporting knew they had a gem, and other clubs were circling. Liverpool, Arsenal, and several other European giants wanted him too. But United had something the others didn't. They had made an impression that night. They had shown genuine, urgent interest. And perhaps most importantly, they had Sir Alex Ferguson, the master persuader, the man who could sell dreams better than anyone in football. The fee was set at £12.24 million, which in 2003 was a substantial amount for an 18-year-old with barely 30 first-team appearances. But Ferguson didn't blink. He'd seen enough. This was the real deal. Now came the jersey number discussion, and this is where it gets really interesting. Ferguson offered Ronaldo the number 7 shirt. Let that sink in for a moment. The number 7. At Manchester United, this wasn't just any number. This was a number worn by George Best, one of the greatest players ever to grace a football pitch. This was Brian Robson's number. This was Eric Cantona's number. This was David Beckham's number, who had just left for Real Madrid. The pressure would crush most teenagers. Imagine being 18 years old and being asked to fill those shoes. But you know what Ronaldo said? He accepted, without hesitation. That's the confidence, the self-belief, the audacity that would define his entire career. The announcement. On August 12, 2003, just 6 days after that unforgettable friendly match, Manchester United announced the signing of Cristiano Ronaldo. The footballing world stopped and paid attention. Who was this kid? Why had United paid so much? Why had they given him the sacred number 7? Sir Alex Ferguson held a press conference and said something that would prove prophetic. He is one of the most exciting young players I've ever seen. Coming from Fergie, a man who had worked with some of the greatest talents in football history, that was quite the statement. Ronaldo himself was overwhelmed with emotion. In his first interviews as a United player, you could see the excitement, the nervousness, the sheer disbelief in his eyes. He'd gone from the streets of Madeira to one of the biggest clubs in the world in less than a decade. The dream was real. The significance. Let's take a step back and appreciate what had just happened. A single performance, 90 minutes of football, had convinced the most successful manager in English football history to spend over £12 million on a teenager and hand him the most prestigious jersey number in club football. This wasn't just a transfer. This was the beginning of a legend. This was the moment when destiny took over. That night in Lisbon, under the lights of a brand new stadium, an 18-year-old kid announced himself to the world and said, "I'm here, and I'm going to be the best." Think about the courage it took. Ronaldo didn't hide from the challenge of facing Manchester United. He didn't play it safe. He went out there and gave everything, showcasing every trick, every skill, every ounce of talent he possessed. He played with the fearlessness of youth combined with the skill of a veteran. He was spectacular. And Manchester United's response. They didn't just admire him from afar. They didn't put him on a list of players to watch. They acted immediately, decisively, and brought him to Old Trafford before anyone else could snatch him away. What made him special? So what was it about that performance that was so special? What did Ferguson and those United players see that made them so certain? First, there was the technique. The ball control was sublime. Every touch was perfect. Every movement purposeful. He wasn't just doing tricks for show. He was beating defenders, creating space, making things happen. Second, the pace. My goodness, the speed. When Ronaldo kicked the ball past a defender and ran, it was like watching a sprinter. He didn't just have pace, he had explosive acceleration that left defenders for dead. Third, and perhaps most importantly, the mentality. This kid wasn't intimidated by Manchester United's reputation. He didn't play scared. He took them on. Every single time he got the ball, he wanted to attack, to create, to destroy the opposition. That fearlessness, that hunger, you can't teach that. But there was something else too, something intangible. It was the way he carried himself, the confidence that radiated from him. Even at 18, you could see he believed he belonged at the highest level. He didn't just want to play in the Premier League. He wanted to conquer it. The dream becomes reality. On August 16, 2003, just 10 days after that magical night in Lisbon, Cristiano Ronaldo made his Manchester United debut against Bolton Wanderers at Old Trafford. He came on as a substitute in the 60th minute, wearing that iconic number 7 shirt, and the crowd gave him a standing ovation. Old Trafford had seen many great players, but there was something electric about this moment. The 67,647 fans in attendance knew they were witnessing the arrival of something special. And Ronaldo didn't disappoint. Even in that brief cameo, he showed flashes of the brilliance that would make him a legend. He won a penalty, terrorized defenders, and left the crowd wanting more. After the match, Sir Alex Ferguson beamed with pride. His gamble was already paying off. The media went crazy. "Who is this kid?" the headline screamed. "Where did he come from?" But those who had witnessed that night in Lisbon 6 weeks earlier, they knew. They'd seen the future of football, the legacy of that night. That friendly match in Lisbon on August 6, 2003, changed everything. It changed Cristiano Ronaldo's life. It changed Manchester United's trajectory. And in many ways, it changed football itself. Think about what followed. 6 years at Manchester United, 292 appearances, 118 goals, 3 Premier League titles, an FA Cup, 2 League Cups, a Champions League trophy, and a Ballon d'Or. Ronaldo became one of the greatest players ever to wear the United shirt, standing alongside Best, Charlton, and Cantona in the pantheon of Old Trafford legends. But more than that, his journey inspired millions. A kid from a poor family on a small island became one of the greatest athletes in human history through sheer determination, incredible work ethic, and unwavering self-belief. And it all came down to one magical night when an 18-year-old decided to put on a show that would change his life forever. When he decided to play without fear, without limits, and show the world exactly what he was capable of. Conclusion: the power of seizing the moment. The story of how Cristiano Ronaldo went from Sporting Lisbon to Manchester United isn't just a football transfer story. It's a story about courage. It's a story about taking your chance when it comes. It's a story about believing in yourself even when the odds seem impossible. Ronaldo could have played it safe that night. He could have been nervous facing one of the world's biggest clubs. He could have hidden from the challenge. Instead, he embraced it. He ran at them. He showed them everything he had. And because he had the courage to shine in that moment, his entire life changed. That's the power of seizing your opportunity. That's what happens when preparation meets the moment. From the streets of Madeira to the Sporting Academy to that unforgettable night at the Estadio José Alvalade to the Theatre of Dreams at Old Trafford, Cristiano Ronaldo's journey to Manchester United is one of the most romantic, inspiring stories in football history. So the next time you see Cristiano Ronaldo scoring incredible goals, winning trophies, breaking records, remember where it really started. Remember that night when a skinny teenager from Portugal stepped onto a pitch and announced to the world, "I'm Cristiano Ronaldo, and I'm going to be the greatest." And you know what? He absolutely delivered on that promise. What a story. What a player. What a legend. From Sporting Lisbon to Manchester United, from unknown teenager to global superstar, all because of one unforgettable performance that left everyone who witnessed it absolutely speechless. That, my friends, is how legends are born.